Why are you dodging the question?
I'm not. I'm just saying. I'm
Sure
telling
you
you
are.
where I am. I am.
Tell me, do you support restrictions in the third trimester?
I have
If the
personally.
mother's healthy and the baby's healthy.
This is why we hate politicians. Here's one of our favorites, Senator John Kennedy. He had the director of health, Secretary of Health and Human Services, Mr. Becerra, and he was asking him one simple question that every Democrat should be asked by members of the media. What limitations would you put on abortion? That's a simple question. And somehow, Secretary Becerra just can't answer it.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being here. Mr. Secretary, if the mother is healthy and the baby is healthy, do you really support abortion of the baby up to the moment of birth?
Senator, let me make sure. To the moment of birth, you're saying after gestation, the 40 weeks.
You know what I'm saying, Mr. Secretary.
Well,
I'm going to let this play because it should play for a while, but that's just this is why Americans hate politicians. If the mother's healthy and the baby's healthy, do you support abortion up till birth? Define birth. This is why we hate politicians. If abortion is so great and you are so proud of your position on trying to keep the killing of babies legal, then why are you so terrified to just answer the question?
Let's suppose it's the day before the due date, and the baby is fully formed, and the baby's healthy, and the mother is healthy. Do you support aborting the right to abort the baby then?
I've heard no one say that. I think everyone has said, those who support reproductive rights have said,
support
Roe versus Wade.
You said it in 2020 in a press release. This is what you said. You said, quote, "No government, state or federal, has the right to make decisions for a woman about her body or her health care," end quote. Your words, not mine.
Good words.
So let me ask you again. Up to the moment of birth, if the mother's healthy and the baby's healthy, do you believe that there should be the right to abort that baby up to the moment of birth?
Again, I'll give you the answer. I have always supported Roe v. Wade, which does not do what you've just said. And I know of no one who is proposing or advocating what you've just announced. And I would hope that what you would recognize is that that should not stop a woman from having the right to decide for herself with the consultation of her physician what she should do.
All right, so then we're going to get back to this in a second, but you're going to hear a lot of this. This is what the pat answer is. You know, I mentioned on the program, I think last week, that Republicans have had it way too easy for the last 50 years. They're not good at talking about abortion. They never have been. But all they had to do for pro-life voters over the past 50 years is say, we got to get rid of Roe v. Wade. We got to get rid of Roe v. Wade. Roe v. Wade's got, well, Roe v. Wade is gone now. And now you're seeing Republican pro-life, so-called politicians floundering about. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to say. They don't know how to talk about life. They don't know how to talk about abortion. They don't know how to defend the position that we thought they had, because up until now, their entire position really wasn't to support the life position and to oppose abortion. Their position was get rid of Roe v. Wade. And so that's all they had. And now, well, they're struggling a little bit. That's fine. It's good to know we need people who can defend this position in their place. If you claim you're pro-life and you can't actually articulate your position against abortion, then you need to get off the stage. Democrats now are doing the exact same thing. All Democrats will say is, I want to bring Roe v. Wade back. Well, that ain't going to happen. Roe v. Wade is a Supreme Court decision. And Roe, by the way, in Roe v. Wade, ended up becoming a converted Christian and regretted being the poster child for abortion. She ended up being pro-life. So Roe v. Wade is not going to happen again. And understand, though, he cannot pinpoint exactly. Well, he's claiming that there were limitations in Roe v. Wade, which ultimately, the way it played out, there were not. And that's the secret sauce here. Under Roe v. Wade, we had third trimester abortions. We had partial birth abortions. We had, right up until the moment of birth, abortions under Roe v. Wade. But he knows politically he can't say that. So instead, he just says, well, I want Roe v. Wade. which is a cop-out. And as he just lied under oath, saying there were no late-term abortions under Roe v. Wade, here's a law that was passed in New York. This was in 2019, as you can see. Let's make that big. January 24th, 2019, Governor Andrew Cuomo signed into law a law allowing abortions at any time if a mother's health is at risk. Now, we'll get into the health is at risk in a moment. The new law signed by Governor Andrew Cuomo on Tuesday safeguards rights laid out in Roe v. Wade and other court rulings, including a provision permitting late-term abortions when a woman's health is endangered. The state's previous law, which had been on the books for nearly 50 years, only permitted abortions after 24 weeks of pregnancy if a woman's life was at risk. So let's just be clear. Under Roe v. Wade in 2019, the state of New York revoked their longstanding law that you could not have an abortion past 24 weeks unless the woman's life was endangered. And they rewrote it, allowing abortion right up through the due date if a woman's health was in danger. That was under Roe v. Wade. And that was how CBS wrote it up at the time. But understand something very, very, very important. When a woman's health is endangered, includes the woman's mental health. If a woman is a week away from her due date and she is suffering from debilitating depression, and she believes that by having that baby, it's going to put her into a depression spiral of doom, and she will potentially commit suicide or be so depressed that she won't be able to get out of bed, and she's going to be in whatever horrific mental health crisis you might think, well, then that baby is disposable. If the woman has perceived mental health problems and perceives that she has concern, it doesn't matter. By the way, if you go into Planned Parenthood or some sort of abortion mill and you're 2 weeks away from birth and you say, I want to have an abortion, and they say, well, is your health at risk? And you say, yes, that's pretty much it. That's the screening process. So he is lying to you right now when he says Roe v. Wade didn't allow things like that to happen. Of course, Roe v. Wade allowed that to happen. Upwards to close to 10,000 a year by many estimates. All right, back to this confrontation, because Kennedy now really lays in.
Do you support making it illegal to abort a baby if the mother's healthy and the baby is healthy on the day before that baby is scheduled to be born?
I certainly would support the reestablishment of Roe versus Wade.
Okay. So you think that there are restrictions that the state, federal or state, as the case may be, can place on abortion?
Senator, if you talk to any woman, she'll tell you that she uses common sense in making her decisions.
Do you think that the state or the federal government in the third trimester of a pregnancy has the right to impose limitations, moral and legal right to impose limitations on an abortion? I think that's a yes or no.
I would certainly say that Roe v. Wade answered those questions. We defend
I
and
want your
support Roe
answer.
versus Wade.
Roe v. Wade has been overturned. I want your answer. Do you support restrictions by the federal or the state government on the right to an abortion in the third trimester?
And my answer is clear that if we establish Roe versus Wade, we get back to a system that gives women
Do
protection.
you support restrictions to the right to an abortion in the third trimester? Why are you dodging the question?
I'm not. I'm just saying. I'm
Sure
telling
you
you
are.
where I am. I
Now,
am.
tell me, do you support restrictions in the third trimester?
I have
If the
personally.
mother's healthy and the baby's healthy?
Yeah. And Senator, let me try to make sure I answer this. Personally, as you mentioned, I've been quoted on a number of occasions before I became secretary. I support a woman's right to make a decision about her body.
But do you support restrictions in the third trimester? I just asked, why are you embarrassed to answer?
Yeah. You know why he's embarrassed to answer. Let me just tell you what's going on here. There was focus group after focus group after focus group and polling that was done by the Democratic Party and by the Biden presidency and the Biden campaign that it reached one conclusion and one conclusion only. The idea of going back to Roe v. Wade is popular with enough of our base that that's what we need to hammer home. So that's the messaging. That's all you need to know. Whenever you're asked about this, don't answer anything directly. Just say we should put back Roe v. Wade. which of course can't be done. That's not a reality. Roe v. Wade was a Supreme Court decision. You don't legislate a Supreme Court decision. But that's all they know. This is a political answer, not a real answer. It's funny how, the Bidens of the world and Democrats and people in the media, your Jake Tappers, your George Stephanopoulos, they'll lament that Republicans and Democrats in this country can't reach any kind of consensus on anything. There's nothing that we can agree to on. And if I could echo what Senator Kennedy says right now, let's start here. Let's start with one thing we can all agree on. Can we agree? Can you agree with us? All you abortion enthusiasts out there, can we agree that an abortion should not be allowed on the day of the birth? Like a woman goes into labor, should she not allowed to then say, oh, that's it, let's abort this baby? Can we agree on that? Now, Becerra will say, Roe v. Wade, Roe v. Wade. Let's start with this. Let's start on the day of the birth. Okay. Can we agree? Maybe we can agree on that. Okay, now how about the day before birth? Let's just keep walking it back day by day until we reach that breaking point where you gotta have that baby killed. But right now, we can't even agree on the day the woman goes into labor. And I don't know about you. I don't know where you are on the spectrum of where abortion should be allowed or not. But if we can't agree on the day labor begins, the problem is not on those of us who are trying to protect that baby. The problem is with all of you who just claim that you're pro-choice and want Roe v. Wade back. No, you're in favor of a lot more than just choice if we can't agree on that. All right, that was Senator Kennedy yesterday. Today, Senator Kennedy, just this morning, had Attorney General Merrick Garland in front of him, and he had a couple of questions about the Justice Department's handling of the Hunter Biden case.
Mr. Hunter Biden did not pay taxes on $1 million in 2014 and 2015. And he deducted payments from his income tax for personal expenses when he did file. For hookers, for a Lamborghini, for strip clubs, for sex clubs, for porn website memberships. Why did the Department of Justice let the statute of limitations run?
As you well know,
So
Senator.
you can't prosecute?
As you well know, Senator, that investigation is being conducted by Mr. Weiss, who was appointed by President Trump to be the U.S. Attorney in Delaware. Much of the investigation you're talking about occurred during the previous administration under Mr. Weiss. Mr. Weiss has continued his investigations. It's now a special counsel. He will issue a report which
So are
will
you saying
explain
it's
those,
Trump's fault?
which will explain. No, I don't know whether there's fault or not. Mr. Weiss will explain this in his report.
But we can't. Mr. Hunter Biden walks free on not paying taxes on $1 million from 2014 and 15 because the Department of Justice let it happen, right?
Again, I'm not going to comment on decisions made in a pending investigation. In the end, Mr. Weiss will issue a report. I will provide the report to Congress. You'll be able to question Mr. Weiss as to his reasoning, and he will be able to defend his reasoning.
Would you come with Mr. Weiss when he does that?
I'm not going to know the intricacies of Mr. Weiss' investigation. There would be no point. It's Mr. Weiss who's responsible for this investigation.
But you were head of the Department of Justice.
Yes, and I've appointed him as special counsel so that he can independently investigate this matter.
Yeah, the question at hand is, why was the statute of limitations allowed to run out before pressing any charges? That happened before Mr. Weiss was named as a special counsel. That is a complete dodge and a non-answer. There is no reason why Merrick Garland can't answer that question. He can't hide behind, oh, special counsel's handling it. No, this happened before you appointed him special counsel. So please answer the question. And he won't. If you notice one common thread here between Granholm and Becerra and Merrick Garland, they all have an uncanny knack of not answering a question. That's your government. That's your Biden administration. And they want 4 more years.